welcome to Understanding PTSD I'm your host, John Coleman, and this is our guest, Isiah Scott. How about you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. So PTSD, a lot of people undergo it, and I just want to know, what exactly is it?
PTSD, often known as post-traumatic stress disorder, or back during World War I, World War II, is also known as shell shock, is a physiological and it's a psychological response to traumatic events such as like combat. It especially happens with people of military personnel, like my father, for instance. You also see it happen with folks that work in like the police academy as well, and just everyday folks as well. Something as simple as like a car accident could lead to PTSD.
So what are the effects of it?
Well, it kind of manifests in a couple different ways. For most instances, you will see folks respond to events by trying to avoid certain situations. Like, for instance, my father tries to avoid areas with a lot of crowds. He tries to keep distance from events where there's going to be like loud music or flashing lights, that sorts of things, because that can trigger a episode. Other instances can be like the idea of wanting to avoid anxiety, things that may trigger anxiety, such as, like we were saying, those crowds. There are also certain cases where people will have certain responses to certain demographics as well. If you were in an area where you had a lot, like a very high Muslim population, you may be more hesitant to go to an area in the everyday that has a high Muslim population, because you will have that instant reaction, which is conditioning from training, as well as a lot of trauma.
That instinct.
Yes.
So that it's like a long-term thing. It doesn't really ever go away.
No. So with the science behind it, whenever your body experiences a lot of stress, it releases this hormone called cortisol. It's known as the stress hormone. There's not a whole lot of science behind it, but one thing that has been shown is that cortisol actually damages the hippocampus, which is in part related to short-term memory reconciliation and transferring it to long-term storage for your memories. When the hippocampus is damaged, it can lead to feelings of an event happening over and over and over again, which is why when people suffer from PTSD, they can have flashbacks of events that happened 5-10 years ago, but it feels like it's happening all over again.
And there's medication and ways to help against like these stuff happening?
Medication, not so much. It mostly focuses on therapy and rehabilitation. I know that some people are very hesitant to look at therapy, but from my own personal experience, it has done wonders for my father. It's done wonders for our family as well, when it comes to understanding exactly what he's going through and trying to make the best possible outcome and situations for him. Being able to assess when he may be going into an environment that may trigger something like that is important, because it's going to be able to prevent the most, maybe trying to prevent a very inappropriate response for something that is actually quite mundane.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, for instance, whenever we like go out to eat or something like that, he's very adamant about putting his back against a wall. That is just a part of the conditioning, is not wanting to, trust anyone. If there is someone that is behind him and he's not comfortable with them, he will turn to face them. There were instances when I was very young and I would like try to sneak up on him as a kind of a gag, and he would respond as a soldier would, not as a father would, and would be retaliatory, which, looking back on it now, I completely understand that wasn't him, that was the military training.
Yeah, I understand. All right, well, that's about all the time we have for today.
Sure.
This has been Understanding PTSD I'm your host, John Coleman, and this is Isiah Scott, and we'll see y'all next time.